Death, taxes, and the Dallas Cowboys disappointing. The only difference between this year and most is normally the disappointments happen in the playoffs, but after a tough L in Atlanta on Sunday night, the Cowboys' playoff chances are looking bleak. According to PlayoffStatus.com, the Cowboys currently only have a 9% chance of making it into the postseason, and only 3% chance of advancing to the second round. So what went wrong in 2024 for the Cowboys? Let's find out. The Dallas Cowboys cycle. Something we see every year, and it's synonymous with the team over the last few years. And as of recent, it's been pretty accurate, because Cowboys always seem to flame out in the postseason. Since Mike McCarthy took over as a head coach in 2020, the Cowboys have a record of 42-25 in the regular season, and have made the playoffs 3 out of 4 years. In the 2021 offseason, the Cowboys would make the controversial move extending quarterback Dak Prescott to a 4-year, $160 million deal. Jerry Jones showing his commitment to the 28-year-old quarterback. And it would pay off as the Cowboys go 12-5 in the regular season. Dak threw for 4,449 yards, Ezekiel Elliott rushed for 1,000 yards, and CeeDee Lamb had over 1,100 yards receiving. Trevon Diggs went crazy with 11 picks, and Micah Parsons had 13 sacks, taking home Defensive Rookie of the Year. The Cowboys were set to make a deep playoff run because it was their year.
Come on, San Francisco to get to the quarterback here. Prescott takes off running the football. Whoa, I don't think this is going to work out.
It will. They'll be able to clock this. They were planning for it. It's down. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, the official gets in the way. The game's over. Gosh. The game is over. Oh, he did.
Pretty pathetic way to lose a playoff game. 23-17 loss marked their second time in the past 3 postseason appearances, and the 7th time in the past 10 that Dallas would go one and done in the playoffs. In the following 2022 offseason, the Cowboys would lose longtime tackle Lael Collins and wide receiver Amari Cooper to free agency. They would then choose to re-sign receiver Michael Gallup over Cooper to a 5-year, $62.5 million contract. They had an alright draft, taking Tyler Smith in the 1st, Jake Ferguson the 4th, and Deron Bland in the 5th. Those were the only notable guys from the draft. However, they would pick up a steal in undrafted free agents and kicker Brandon Aubrey, who was quickly becoming one of the best kickers in the NFL. But in 2022, he would still be the backup to Brett Maher. Anyway, with high expectations for the 2022 season, the Cowboys would finish 12-5 again. This time not being the top of the NFC East, however, as the Eagles went 14-3. They would beat the Bucs in the first round of the playoffs, and what would be Tom Brady's last game in the NFL. Kicker Brett Maher notably would miss 4 extra points in this game, which is the most ever in NFL history. They would go on to rematch the Niners in the divisional round, but would find themselves down 19-12 late in the 4th. The final 6 seconds of the game, on their own 24-yard line, Dak Prescott tried to rally the Cowboys, but he couldn't finish the job, despite Ezekiel Elliott's valiant attempt to plank center. The 2023 offseason saw no notable signings or re-signings, however they did make a splash in the trade market, trading for Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore, along with Trey Lance for whatever reason. And they would lose a lot of players to free agency though, with Ezekiel Elliott, Dalton Schultz, Connor McGovern, Noah Brown, Anthony Barr, and many more depth pieces departing. They would also get rid of Brett Maher after his abysmal performances last season. Now heading into this season, putting last year's playoff loss behind them, Cowboys were ready to get redemption, go on a deep postseason run. I mean, this year was their year after all. And well, as usual, the Cowboys put up a great regular season performance, going 12-5 again, finishing second in the NFC. This would set them up against the Packers in the first round of the playoffs. The Packers were coming into this game as the 7th seed after going 9-8 in their first year without Aaron Rodgers. And up to this point, the 7th seed had never won a playoff game. Well, that was until this year. Jordan Love and the Packers wrecked a hopeless Cowboys team at home to advance to play the Niners in the divisional round. The final score flatters the Cowboys as Dak and the boys put up some big numbers in garbage time. Frauds is the only word you could use to describe the Cowboys after that game. The narrative of playoff jokers would only be reaffirmed. At the start of the 2024 offseason, Jerry Jones, the Cowboys owner, would announce that the Cowboys were all in.
Pre-agency. All in. All in. All in. We're all in with these young guys coming up.
And that would show with their aggressive offseason moves. Signing Eric Kendricks and re-signing 30-year-old Zeke Elliott and what else did they do? Oh, they re-signed their long snapper, and wait, that's all they did? Come on, Jerry, that's not very all in now, is it? Or as Skip Bayless would tweet, all in my ass. Oh wait, there's a comma there. Never mind. Anyway, the Cowboys would do next to nothing in free agency, and would have an okay draft. I mean, it's kind of hard to grade their picks at this point in the season. This lack of making moves is due to their cap restraints from the big contracts they gave out to Dak and others. It also shows why half their list left in free agency. They would lose Tony Pollard, Tyron Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Neville Gallimore, Stephon Gilmore, Jerron Kearse, as well as Leighton Vander Esch and Michael Gallup to retirement. But after a big all-in offseason, the Cowboys were ready to compete again. This year would be different. It was their time for real. This was their year. They would finally proceed through the postseason and make it to a Super Bowl.
Kamara looking for his 4th touchdown of the game. Stays on his feet. Alvin Kamara's got 4. Spot right off the gun. Derrick Henry running for the end zone. He's in. Touchdown,
being physical in the run game.
Second year out of North Dakota State to the sideline. Here goes Lamb. He gets free on the inside. C.D. Lamb. Touchdown.
Prescott throws, crossing, it's caught for the touchdown. It's Tolbert. Stays in the game.
They got a good win in week 1 versus the Browns, but now looking back, they're one of the worst teams in the league. And then the next week, they would end up getting obliterated by the Saints in week 2. This was, currently as of week 9, the Saints' most recent win, so they've gone 0-7 since that game against the Cowboys. You'd think a 44-19 loss would be the low point of a season, but oh boy, are you wrong. The Cowboys would again get well beaten by the Ravens. Score again would flatter Dallas as the Ravens let up a few late garbage time touchdowns, which made the game look a lot closer than it was. The Cowboys finally got back in the win column in weeks 4 and 5 against the Giants and Steelers. So after 5 weeks, the Cowboys were 3-2. Whilst things weren't looking great, Cowboys fans were still optimistic about the rest of the season. I mean, 3-2 isn't ideal. It's not a terrible start to the year. You do have a tough week 6 game though against the Red Hot Lions, but I mean, it's a home game on Jerry Jones' 82nd birthday. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy. You get your goddamn ugly ass on.
Dan Campbell needs to be investigated for murder because the Lions have killed any Super Bowl hopes for the Dallas Cowboys this season. This game was ugly, all round disgusting, and really the Cowboys and their fans should all be embarrassed after a game like that. They would follow up this game losing again after the bye to a depleted 49ers to set up a must-win game against the Falcons. At 3-4, a win gets you back to 500. And a loss puts you in a pretty deep hole when it comes to making the playoffs. And the Falcons to this point had been up and down so far in the Kirk Cousins era, and were 5-3 coming into this game. The game would start out with the Falcons punt, answered by a Cowboys field goal before the Falcons would take the lead with a sick Drake London touchdown. The Cowboys would then punt, and then as the Falcons were driving down, the Cowboys would force a fumble, getting the ball in Atlanta territory. The Cowboys couldn't move the ball, and on 4th and 1 would go for it. CeeDee Lamb would get the ball on a jet sweep and get smacked behind the line, turn the ball over on downs. During this play, head coach Mike McCarthy was spotted smashing a tablet on the sideline in frustration, which just about sums up the game as a whole for the Cowboys, but anyway, let's move on. Atlanta would take advantage and score again on a blown coverage play to Darnell Mooney, who just walked it in to make the score 14-3. Cowboys would answer back with a Rico Dowdle touchdown on a miraculous Dak step up in the pocket play. On their next drive, they would only make it to their own 40-yard line before the drive stalled out, and 4th down came. And on 4th and 2, they would do a fake punt. The punter would drop back to pass, but it would fall incomplete, and lead to a Ray McLeod touchdown to put the Falcons up 21-10. Both teams would punt, and the Cowboys would then set up Brandon Aubrey to attempt a 58 field goal, which he would hit. The Falcons would get the ball and score a touchdown to extend the lead to 27-13 after a failed extra point attempt due to a miscommunication with the kicker and holder. Both teams would exchange punts again before the Cowboys would again turn the ball over on downs for the 4th time in the game, as Cooper Rush would go for it on 4th and 11 with 5 minutes left. The Cowboys would score a late touchdown, but it wouldn't matter as the Falcons would recover the onside kick and end the game 27-21. You may have noticed I said Cooper Rush was in late in the game, and that's because if you thought things couldn't get any worse for Dallas, Dak Prescott went down late with a hamstring injury. Early signs show it doesn't seem to be too severe. However, Jerry Jones was quoted as saying he was concerned. With a tough loss to the Falcons, the Cowboys' path forward only gets more challenging. Now sitting 3-5, their playoff hopes are fading fast, and the injury to Dak Prescott only adds to the uncertainty for the Cowboys' future. I mean, looking at the rest of this year, they have a tough schedule with the Eagles, Texans, and Commanders being their next 3 games. It does get easier after that with a rematch against the Giants and a game against the Panthers, but then they would also have the Bengals, Bucks, Eagles again, and Commanders again to close out the year. I can see a world where the Cowboys finish 4-13. Seriously, if Dak misses a few games and the Cowboys continue to struggle, wouldn't be surprised if Dallas finished well below 500. More realistically, I think the Cowboys will finish at around 7-10 or 8-9, which, with the way the NFC East is looking, apart from the Giants, will mean that Dallas will miss the playoffs. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, their playoff percentage is just 8%, so really their playoff hopes are all but over. Looking past this year, the road looks tough for the Cowboys, as they have a list of potential cap casualties as they try to balance their salary cap. They have some players on big contracts that are taking up all the cap room. With a list this long of free agents in 2025, Cowboys are going to be in shambles. Honestly, the best road ahead for Dallas is to lose as many remaining games as possible, get a better draft pick. Playoffs are so far away, and even if they do squeeze in, what's the likelihood you beat Detroit, Washington, or even Atlanta in the postseason? A Super Bowl has never seemed further away from Dallas in the Mike McCarthy era. The Cowboys are in need of some major restructuring to get back to being serious contenders. But what do you guys think? Should the Cowboys go all in on a rebuild? Or is there still hope to salvage something of this season? Let me know your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. We've got a good video coming out likely next week, so turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.